Welcome to my channel. It's the Creative One. I hope everybody in the world is doing good. Let's talk so I can give you this tea. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hello, everyone. It's the Creative One. I hope everybody is doing well. So today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Mandela effect. So the Mandela effect is a phenomenon that millions or even billions of people having a false memory about things like past events or, little small details. One very popular, the Mandela effect started because a lot of people have a vivid memory and remember Nelson Mandela dying in the 80s. But they're saying now that Nelson Mandela died in 2013. So there's some very, very popular Mandela effects. Like the Monopoly man not having a monocle, but everybody remembers him having it. I personally remember him having it because I used to play Monopoly. The Chick-fil-A logo did not have a K at the end of Chick. I definitely remember that because I used to go to Chick-fil-A all the time. There's numerous of them. The Bernstein Bears is supposedly the Bernstein Bears. It was never the Bernstein Bears. They're saying that the Jiffy peanut butter was always called Jif. Now, I definitely don't believe that one. Jif doesn't even sound right. I always remember Jiffy. There's just numerous examples. For example, in the Hit Me Baby One More Time video, they're trying to say that she always wore a black skirt, that the skirt was never a gray plaid skirt. I remember it being a gray plaid skirt. I remember all her backup dancers having a gray plaid skirt. Because, it was like supposed to be a schoolgirl aesthetic. So that made sense for all of them to have a plaid skirt. That's personally where I remember. But there's hundreds of examples of the Mandela effect. For example, in the famous Disney movie Snow White, they're saying that it was never mirror, mirror on the wall. It was master mirror on the wall. That doesn't even sound right. In the Laughing Cow logo, I definitely remember that cow having a septum ring in his nose. I definitely remember that as well. Like I say, I could go on and on and on. There's so many examples. Another real popular one is the Fruit of the Loom logo not having the cornucopia around it. It's just numerous. I've heard people online saying, I have an old Fruit of the Loom shirt. It definitely have the cornucopia on it. I say, I definitely vividly remember some of them. I've also heard the one with the Pillsbury Doughboy, that his scarf was blue at one point. With that one, I personally kind of remember it always being white. I don't really remember a blue scarf. I remember it always being white. But like I say, it's really small details that is kind of hard to remember. But it's your mind could just tell when something looks off. You know what I mean? I don't know. You could just tell when just something just looks off or when it just doesn't look different. How you once remembered it. But I personally do not believe that the Mandela effect is real. I personally believe that, they're trying to test our mind and play with our memory and, test our memory to see how much we remember. Why would they want to do that? What's their motive behind that? I don't know. Some people are saying that they're trying to erase history. That's why they don't really sell DVDs and VHS tapes like that they want everything to be all digital so we don't own copies of anything. That makes sense to me. I don't believe in the Mandela effect. Some people are saying that there's a multiverse theory, that CERN has a lot to do with it, that they're messing with space and time and things like that. Some people say that they think we're in a simulation. I personally don't believe that I'm in a simulation. I believe that I'm a human being on Earth, and that's just what I believe. But I do not think the Mandela effect is real. You can't sit here and tell millions of people that we all have the same false memory about something. I mean, that's just bullshit. But there's definitely an agenda of why they're doing this, why they're, trying to tell us that, we don't remember certain things. I think that they're just testing us, to see what they can get away with. They're just putting out false information, but I definitely do not believe that the Mandela effect is real. I think that they're just changing things, and they're just telling us that it's always been that way for a certain reason. Maybe it's some kind of experiment. But, they're not really pulling a wool over our eyes. Ever since the internet came out, ever since, we can connect, with each other and exchange information, they're not really pulling a wool over our eyes like they're trying to. I mean, they still are. It's still a lot of things that we don't know. But yeah, you can't sit here and just tell millions of people, you just don't remember, or, a lot of people, remember that, but it's just a false memory. I mean, that's just bullshit. So, and then there's another one where they're saying, in the Disney movies that the Tinkerbell will fly across the screen and dot the Disney with an I. I personally do remember that in some Disney movies. I don't think it was in every Disney movie, but I do remember the Tinkerbell flying across the screen and all of that. I do remember that. Like I say, I could go on and on and on. There's so many, but like I say, I think that they're just trying to, sit here and change information, maybe change history, or I don't know why they would even want to do that. I don't know what's the motive behind that, but it gets very, very deep. It really does, but it just makes me, want to have a sharp memory. It just makes me just want to be aware, because it's just a lot of weird ass shit going on with this government. They're just trying to do something. It's just something that they're trying to do that we just can't put our finger on. Like I say, it's a motive and it's a reason behind why they would want to do this. I don't know, but you can't sit here and tell millions of people, oh, we're crazy. Oh, you guys just don't remember that. That it's normal for your mind to just remember things that you don't remember. No, everybody's memory is not off. Like, we're not just imagining things. We're not just misinterpreting things. No. So, and then I noticed that they do it like to small details that's kind of hard to remember. But so maybe that's why, but no, I call bullshit on that. And then another one, a lot of people vividly remember Pikachu having a black strip on his tail. Like I say, there's several, like, it's crazy, but like I say, I personally think they're full of shit. There's no Mandela effect. I think that things have always been how we remember them, and they're trying to, test our brains and test our mind and tell us that it never happened, but I call bullshit on it. So yeah, this is very interesting. Like I say, like, I wonder what the agenda is behind it. That's the part that worries me, because it's like, why would you want to deceive everybody and tell everybody that we don't remember certain things? That concerns me. It really, really does. But like I say, just be aware. Just try to keep your memory sharp. Just try to, remember things from the past. And I know older generations remember things a lot more than newer generations. So, yeah, like, a lot of newer generations probably really don't know the difference, or probably really can't tell because they weren't around in the past, So, Yeah, but I'm happy that people are talking about this. I really hope more people start talking about it and are just aware of it. Like I say, it goes very deep with CERN and, just a whole bunch of stuff. Like this topic, it goes a lot deeper, like into the government experiments, all kinds of things. So, like I say, I think it's crazy, how they would really try to, tell us that. But people are not stupid, we're not. Like I say, it's been several topics about this online. A lot of people are saying, that they remember vividly things being a certain way. And you're not crazy. That is what happened. It's this government or the media or whatever, just trying to fool you.
What are some examples of the Mandela effect, but in movies? Probably the most famous example is the legend of the movie Shazam, a movie where Sinbad plays a genie. People have collectively said they have memories of watching this movie. The problem is, it does not exist. The closest thing you'll get is Kazam, where Shaq plays a genie. Probably my favorite example of the Mandela effect in a movie is when people collectively forgot the Scarecrow is wielding a gun in The Wizard of Oz. It's not like an Emerald City fantasy gun, he straight up just has a revolver. And these scenes still exist, they never took it out. You could watch The Wizard of Oz today and it's still there. A recent one that's been growing in popularity is from the SpongeBob movie, where it has this scene where SpongeBob is playing the guitar. So what exactly is the problem? This is the guitar he actually plays, but if you ask anybody to try to describe this moment from memory, it will likely describe this. Or how about in the movie Risky Business? Every Halloween, someone dresses up as Tom Cruise from this specific scene, and they always add a pair of sunglasses, but he does not wear them in this scene. In Star Wars, C-3PO has a silver leg. I know a lot of us remember him as all gold. That is not the case. A lot of the examples of the Mandela effect in movies are simply people remembering the quotes wrong. Again, in Star Wars, everyone likes to say, Luke, I am your father, but in reality, it's no, I am your father. Actually, a famous example of this comes from The Silence of the Lambs, where many people seem to remember a line in which Hannibal Lecter says in a very creepy tone, "Hello, Clarice." The problem? That line does not exist in the movie at all. In Snow White, the evil queen never says mirror, mirror on the wall. She says magic mirror on the wall, which is something I learned just today.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.